What's up, people? Suli Breaks here, and welcome to By the Fireside Week 3. Those of you familiar with By the Fireside, you know it's a show which every week I tell stories of different natures. Sometimes I make up the story, sometimes I tell someone else's story. This story in particular is one that I didn't make up, but it was told to me by someone. It was partly a story that my mum told me, and I've kind of mixed it with my own invention. Based on a true story, but as I always say, that base leaves so much room for fabrication, you know, it leaves room for so much fabrication. So it's based on a true story, and I've added my own parts to it and stuff like that. I'm not sure if you'd be able to tell, but it's still a story. I've titled it Riches. Anyone who's from Africa is familiar with instances such as light off or water off, where the water is gone from your house from a few days. It's like the standard procedure in Africa. Like the government, everybody knows the water can go off for 3 to 4 days, the electricity can go off 3 to 4 days, 2 days. You never know when it's gonna happen. It's just random. I don't know what it is, but it happens. I don't know. So it comes to this point where it been like that in a particular part of Africa, a particular part of Ghana. It'd been like that for a few days. I think the water had been off. So it come to the point where the government had said that everybody should go to a particular place to get their water topped up or refilled. I'm not sure of the particular circumstances, because as my mum told me the story, that's what she said to me. They had to get refilled. Maybe I just don't remember it properly. So they had to go and get top-ups or refills or whatever. So it happened that there was a huge queue outside the institution, everyone trying to get the top-up so they can get their water back. So it got to the point where the queue was so long, it was drastically long. And everyone was hot, it was sweating on that day. All of a sudden, from the back of the queue, a woman comes with her guards, her houseboys, just pushing everybody out of the way, walking to the front. At the top of her lungs, she's screaming, "Do you know who I am? Do you know how important my family is? Do you know how much money we have? Do you know how much this is worth, this is that?" And obviously, people are offended, but you know, in Africa, the way it works is, really, the richer you are, the more you get away with. That's just the reality of it there. So as she's rushing through the crowd, as she's pushing everybody aside, she knocks over an old lady who's there a bit selling her plantain. She knocks the old lady onto the floor. The old lady's old and fragile, and she looks at the woman and says to her, why did you knock me over? Like we're all tired and stuff, but why did you push past me?" Rich woman looks at her and says, "Do you know how much money I have? Do you know how much wealth my family has accumulated in our time? Please." The old woman pauses and looks at her, and she says to her, "You're right, I agree. You know what? I totally agree. You're so rich that when death comes for you, don't die. Come and call me to die in your place, because I'm so poor. Come and call me to die in your place, because you don't deserve to die because you're so rich." The rich woman naturally shrugged it, stupid old woman, and just carried on her path. Later that night, the woman was in bed. This is the rich woman. She was in bed sleeping, and suddenly she's gripped by a terrible pain in her chest. It feels as if her throat is closing. Now she has a history of asthma, so she's had attacks before, but this one feels so much worse. It's like her lungs are closing in on her. She's having trouble breathing, and I think she knows that this is the one. Some people say that when you're on the brink of death, you know it. So she's there. She feels like she's gonna die, and she's thinking, what's she gonna do? Panting. And then in her mind, she remembers the old lady. So she calls her houseboy. In Ghana, we have people that help you do like household chores, kind of like a butler, a houseboy. And she says to him, "Hey, houseboy, quickly go back to where we was this morning and go and find that old lady that was selling plantain as quick as you can." God is good. Less than 20 minutes later, the houseboy comes back with the old lady. He said that he saw her, she was still selling the plantain. She must sleep there, or she just works all the time there. So she brought the old lady back, and the woman, the rich woman, lay in her bed, breathing, panting. She said, hey, I'm gonna die. It's time, it's come. You said when it was time to die, you would take my place. Come, let's go. How much do you want me to pay you? And the old lady says, yeah, how much are you willing to pay me for this? To save your life, for you to take my life in your place. And the rich woman says, so as much as you want. And she mentions a certain amount, which is a fairly high amount. And the old woman says, no, that's enough, that's not enough, that's not enough. So the rich woman increased the price. She mentions another amount. She says, this amount. The old woman looks at her and says, that's okay, but that's not enough. So the rich woman, she's panting, she's having trouble breathing. She says, oh, she just goes all the way to the top. The equivalent would be maybe like $1 million in any currency. Maybe $1 million, £1 million. So it's a lot of money. And the old woman then looks at her and says, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So is that the price of my life then? Is that how much I am worth for that much? Is that how much life is worth? And the rich woman, not understanding the question, she just nods her head. She just says, she says, the old woman looks at her and says, okay, if that's how much life is worth, then you can surely use all that money to bargain with death and buy your own life back. And the rich woman looks at her and says, how can I use money? The money, how can I buy my life back? I'm going to die, how can I buy my life back? It's not possible to buy your life back. No amount of money is worth the price of life. The old woman then looks at her and says, exactly. She picks up her sack and walks out of the house. The rich woman, in her realization, lays there panting, and she dies that same night. There's a saying, basically the moral of that story was that in terms of riches, you shouldn't use your riches as a medium to judge who you are. Oscar Wilde has a saying whereby he says, ordinary riches can be stolen, but real riches cannot. In your soul are infinite precious things which can never be stolen. Another guy, AJ, his name AJ, I'm not sure, he has a quote, but he says, most people spend their health trying to gain wealth, and then they end up spending their wealth trying to regain their health. Kind of puts it into a little bit of perspective.